This was not a planned live stream, so I didn't send out a post or anything. Let's see. Just see if there should be it doesn't look like it went through. So it came up in my side chat, but it didn't come up in the chat bubble. Let me try again. Still seeing nothing. Chat box is open. That's very strange. I'm gonna just let it go for now. Let's see. Alright, yeah. Hello everyone, this is Venus Brown. I'm getting ready to start on episode 4. I know everybody else has already watched it, but I have not. I finally watched episode 3. I am still working on editing episode 2. I at least have episode 1 published, so hey, at least there's something. But yeah, I just finished I just finished publishing episode 1 on Monday. I plan to publish episode 2 on Tuesday. I should have it done in time. I am probably halfway through it, the editing process for my reaction for episode 2. But I also have lots of other stuff going on. Anyway, I was getting ready to watch episode 4, and I wanted to watch a trailer for it first, and I keep seeing all these headlines saying that there's a freaking trailer for episode 4 and episode 5. So I was all excited. I'll be able to watch a trailer, prepare myself, and then go watch episode 4. But no, it's like one trailer after another of basically little clips from previous scenes or from this trailer, along with a voiceover, most likely AI voiceovers, like one after another after another. I don't mind using those AI voices for like reading books to me and stuff while I'm busy doing other stuff, but I do not really care for having these things claiming to be trailers, claiming to be teasers, claiming to be promos when they are actually an old trailer or old footage with a voiceover, with an AI voiceover on the top. That just irritates the piss out of me. But while I was looking for those, I did decide to like go back through the previous trailer, the actual trailer for the series, and I thought it might be good to go and like watch it with you. Go back through it now that we've watched a few episodes and we know a little bit more of what's going on, because I think, at least for me, it gives me a different perspective and a different outlook than when I first looked through it. So let's go ahead to my watch screen, and I should probably turn my camera on. There we go. All right. I'm going to try to send another chat because I don't understand why that did not send. Let's try to send it on here. No, this won't work. No, because this would go to the wrong thing. All right, let's try. Let's just try again. Okay. One more try. I'm not even gonna capitalize. And anything? Nothing. Oh, there we go. All right, so I got at least one to work. All right, let's get back to the trailer. Okay, let's go ahead and watch this. And I'll just stop every now and then when I have something to say.
I'm not really sure what year it was. I know I still had my dollhouse. It looked just like our real house. Some dolls were always busy. Others were always doing the important work. There was a
Okay, all right, so a couple things. I've heard a lot of people comment on the fact that we have seen absolutely not a single handmaid yet at all. And at first, when they first started, I was like, well, in the books, there's not a handmaid really until Paula gets a handmaid, at least in Agnes's household. But we really have not seen any signs of handmaids at all. Haven't heard about any or anything. So that makes me wonder if there is something going on. I know I saw a headline for something about the handmaids in the Testaments as if they might not be using them. I don't know if that's true, but I didn't watch that video, so I don't know what it had to say. So, anyway, there are some thoughts. But when she opens up the drawer, it shows the dolls all in their little spots except for the handmaid doll. And in the book, the handmaid doll, at first she was living with Tabitha. Tabitha was her first Gilead mother. Not her first biological or real mother, her first Gilead mother. Raising her since she was like 4 or 5 years old. Tabitha got very sick and she eventually died. In the book, Agnes did not know about that. On this, they haven't really said one way or another, but when she mentioned that Tabitha died, she only mentioned it in relation to Rosa, saying that Rosa took care of Agnes while she was dying and fed her ice chips, which does go along with the book. But in the book, she did not know, she didn't understand what was going on. She just knew that her mom was resting a lot. And Shunammite was the person that ratted to her that her mom was dying when she didn't know, which she went on the defensive about it because she thought that Shunammite was lying, and it made her feel really, really upset that she would say something like that. But yeah, she confronted the Marthas about it, and they were like, we thought you knew. That's like the main reason they said they didn't tell her. So yeah, she was not happy about that. Obviously wasn't happy about her Gilead mom dying, and she doesn't think of it as her Gilead mom. She thinks of it as her mom because at this point in time she does not remember June. I will grant that she might possibly have remembered June by the end of The Handmaid's Tale. This is 4 years later. I do think that in The Handmaid's Tale, when they were trying to use Agnes to get at June, to kind of torture June by threatening her kid and putting her kid in front of her, and Agnes acted afraid. I do think there's a possibility she remembered her. She was just traumatized, because I am willing to bet that the people in Gilead have told her all kinds of awful shit about her and just made her afraid of her. But even if she did remember June at that point, this is 4 years later after they've been, after they've been brainwashing her, and after they've been trying to get her to like move on with her life and forget about June. She is older. I wouldn't be surprised if she completely forgot, and according to the show, she doesn't remember her. But anyway, yeah, the dolls in the show, the handmaid, they said they did not have what they did with the handmaid, because when she was with Tabitha, they said they didn't need a handmaid because Tabitha already had her, and that it was selfish to try to have another little baby when there's so many other people that want one. So she wrapped it up in tissue paper. She was supposed to give it to another girl who might want one herself. I don't think she ever did, not in the book. But yeah, that would explain why it's missing. But there are some people saying that this is like one of the changes they made to try to make Gilead better and more humane, is to get rid of the handmaids in at least in that immediate area. I don't know if that's what's going on, but it's a possible explanation. It may just be that Paula doesn't have a handmaid yet, and we haven't really been looking at the other households very much, except that little glimpse that we got into Penny's. But Penny is a brand new wife, so that may not be something that they're even entertaining right now. But it was definitely a part of the book eventually that Paula does get a handmaid, and it also opens up Agnes's eyes to some of the realities that the handmaids go through, because she was told all kinds of awful shit about the handmaids by other people. So it just gives her a different perspective when she actually has a real handmaid living in her household that she is actually able to talk to, at least a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and continue on.
There's a little girl doll. That's me.
Oh yeah, the other thing about the dolls, when she's doing the show, she's like, she talks about the Martha dolls doing this, and these dolls doing this, and the Paula doll, and she's referring to the dolls in her house, but she's also showing these actual events going on in her real life, and I thought it was an interesting perspective on on how these girls in Gilead are almost like dolls. Like they are putting on a role. They are dressing up how the fucking commanders want them to dress up, and they are putting on this role for Gilead like dolls, and they're dressing up, and yeah, it's very much like a way to just take these real human beings, these real people, and make them more like little objects that are just going to do everything you want. And I'm talking about everything the leaders of Gilead want, not what the girls want. Anyway, let's continue on.
Very, very cute hair. Thanks. Yours too. My socks, I look like I have that head.
Back then, we still believed in this world. I guess it's easier to accept a story than believe that the people around you are monsters.
Agnes Mackenzie, this is Daisy. Make her feel comfortable.
Daisy, where do you hail from? Canada.
I imagine
Okay,
Canada's very different
now,
from here.
if I remember correctly, which I think I do, in the book, when Daisy ends up joining up with Agnes, from what I recall, it's because Daisy kept getting in trouble. Because Daisy doesn't fit in with the Pearl Girls. Daisy doesn't fit in Gilead. She is used to the life that she was leading in Toronto, and so it's very hard for her to keep up with all these rote statements, to follow all the rules, and to stop herself from doing things like swearing like a sailor and taking the Lord's name in vain and all of that stuff. So from what I remember, this was well into the book, but she kept getting in trouble. And as far as I remember, this was Aunt Lydia's idea to try to, like, get Agnes and her to work together to kind of try to get her through this part of things, so she didn't end up in a worse way than she was already gonna end up. Because, you know, like, these young girls, if they fuck up, they get massively horrible punishments. And I don't think Lydia wanted that for her. And plus, Lydia, I'm pretty sure, was aware of her Mayday status, even though we don't necessarily know that on here. and maybe she doesn't on here, but on the book, I think she did know about it. As she was part of her plan, part of her possible plan. And from what I remember in the book, Lydia was like sitting on ideas and was not acting them out until she felt that it was time and that she was ready, because she knew that at any given point in time, if somebody found out the wrong information, she could be hung. So it was like always, I'm working on this stuff, but I don't know when I'm going to actually bring anything to fruition. Anyway, let's continue on.
Which makes me wonder, what did you come here for?
What did you come here for? And I'm wondering if that girl that saw her take stuff out of her bed, I'm wondering if possibly she might be Mayday also. Because I know there are supposed to be multiple Pearl girls that are Mayday, just engaging in different roles. But there's also Pearl girls that are legitimately there for whatever they're getting out of this whole religious rebirth in Gilead and attempt at making a new life. Plus, my understanding is that the Pearl girls were intentionally targeting like homeless people that had bad family life, stuff like that. So they have less connections at home, which religious, like extremist religious sects, they will do this. They will try to target people that don't have like a lot of healthy family connections at home. They might not be missed as much, get them away from their friends and family, isolate them, and kind of brainwash them into the religion. And that's kind of what they're doing here. They're targeting these vulnerable people that need help. And look, the Pearl girls are actually trying to help them, and they're trying to bring them to God, which is going to help them. Like, yeah. So anyway, okay, so now we're at the part where Agnes had gotten her period, and she has to go through this gauntlet of nasty ass old men, and they're all fucking looking at her from top to bottom with their nasty, lustful fucking minds, being so blatantly obvious about how they're looking at her. It makes your fucking skin crawl. It's so gross. But, yeah, so she walks up to him where these guys are freaking looking her up and down the whole freaking time. And these are probably the guys that are going to be, looking at her for possibly marrying her. And it so turns my stomach, the whole thing. When I got to the part where she went to talk to her dad, though, like it played the very first part that he had said, but then for some reason it kept cutting out, and every time I'd try to go back and play it, like I could hear some of what was being said, but it wasn't. It would skip straight to the after credits. Sometimes it would skip straight to the after credits and just start playing the show tune music that it was playing. But sometimes it would play a little bit of what he was saying, but I could barely catch anything. So I don't know exactly what he said in his speech. Basically, all I got to see was the very beginning of his speech, and then at the end when he said something to her. I don't even remember what it was. And then it goes to credits. But that whole scene, whole scenario was just, it just turned my stomach.
Women back to their rightful place.
I have to save those girls.
And the tea thing, how she said that she used to put honey in her tea, and then it shows her with the Pearl girls gathering the beehives and collecting the honey from the beehives, and how she said, yeah, I don't put honey in my tea anymore. Like, I don't fucking blame you. I don't fucking blame you. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we're at the part where they're talking to Garth. She told him that she wants to save these girls. And I know that the last scene that I saw where she was talking to Garth, she was mad at him. Like, like they had that situation where the bus is going on a field trip and they get into the middle of town and there's a freaking standoff going on. Freaking armed guards on both sides of the road, people shooting at each other, and then somebody like cuts off the bus and to the front. The bus has to like back up and get the fuck out of there, and Daisy's the one like climbing on people and trying to get them down to the ground. And the Guardian, Garth, is walking around saying like it's not safe, people are shooting. Somebody said something about like all these Guardians are armed, they have weapons on them, yet he didn't seem to have any weapons. I don't know if that's the case. He may have a handgun that just may have been holstered. It's not going to necessarily show. Like some of the Guardians do not have freaking rifles strapped to their back. And somebody else suggested that, oh, well, he could be he seemed more like an eye, and that's possible too. If you remember, Nick, when he was first on there, he was a fucking Guardian and an eye at the same time, and he could very well be. And yes, Garth is a double agent. We find that out when she asks, like, what the heck happened? What was going on? My life is in your hands, and you've got this shit show going, and nobody seems to know what's going on. Like, what the hell? But yeah, it sounds like she's talking to him again, like, I want to save these girls, which I don't blame her. Like, as you get more involved in people's lives, even if they're making fun of you, even if they're intentionally trying to get you in trouble, even if you're intentionally trying to get them in trouble, and you're like intentionally picking at each other and stuff, you can start to get closer to these people. You can start to maybe understand them a little bit better, maybe relate to them a little bit more, even though they're very different, and get closer and develop more feelings and want them fucking out of this mess, because Gilead is a freaking disaster for these girls. And they just don't know, because they're being raised in the middle of it, and they think this is how it's supposed to be. This is how you get close to God. This is how you do right by God. My husband's in here, so. All right, let's continue on.
Close to her.
Changed ever since she's been around.
Can that be a good thing? Why is everybody being so touchy?
Nobody cares what we want.
This is our...
Okay, so that looked like another field trip, because that looked different than the one before. And that was several Pearl girls on that bus. And it sounded like something else, like another something happened, so more fucked up shit. And now you got Agnes is now a green. Agnes is now on the marriage market, and I'm assuming these are the lovely old men that are entertaining the possibility of marrying her. I know in the book they have a very small amount of choice on the matter, but it's like super small, and it's mostly the aunts and I think the commander's wives that are picking these guys. Only like the most privileged had really any say in the matter at all. So I don't know how it's going to go with her, but I have been seeing headlines for episode 4 that that it's not going to be good. It's bad. It's bad. I'll watch it and see what happens. See what's so bad. I know some headline said something about a tea party that went wrong or something. So we'll see what that's about.
It's our whole lives.
There comes a time when you have to take action. When you have to choose your own destiny.
Yep. And so that's kind of the root of what this whole story is about. Is Daisy coming over to infiltrate things, Agnes coming of age, being at that age where she can get married, and that shit happened with the dentist, which set her off to having these nightmares. She doesn't want to get married anymore. Like, at first, she had kind of resigned herself to this is how it is, this is the way it's going to be. She had said in the book, I think she said when she was probably around 8 years old, when she was talking to the Marthas, that she'd rather be a Martha and she'd rather be baking and cooking. And they're like, well, you're going to end up being a wife. And your commander might not like you doing this stuff. Like, it will mess up your hands, and it's, you know, they're not going to like you doing that kind of thing, which made her very upset that yeah, there was that whole scenario on there. Like, because they started off when they did, they have left a whole lot out that would have already happened. A lot with her, with Daisy, with her growing up and stuff like that, and with what was going on immediately before Daisy came over. What went on after her parents were killed. And her parents in the book, that went a little bit differently. In the book, she had attended a protest, and Gilead saw her in the news on the protest, and they started attacking her parents' shop. They got, the shop got robbed. They claimed it was from, like, homeless people or something like that, vagabonds, whatever. And then, like, 3 days later, their car was bombed with them in it. So both of them got killed from a car bombing. And that's when she was grabbed she was grabbed from school by somebody named Ada. Ada, who dresses like a biker, who's always in a black jacket and thick black boots. I'm thinking that they are putting June in the place of Ada, this person that used to hang around at the shop every once in a while. She knew she'd seen her at the shop, but she didn't, like, know her personally, but she knew that she'd talked to her parents before. Yeah, well, either way, Ada's the one that picks her up from school. She does not let her go back to see dead mom and dad. She does not let her go back to her house. There is no boyfriend, I don't think. But she explains everything that happened. There's no June in the picture until the very end of the book. And I'm sure that most of you know by now that the June in the book is supposed to be her biological mother that she just didn't know about because she's been raised by Melanie and what's his name the whole time. But in this, they're setting it up as she was somebody else's kid, that the Gilead parents tried to get her out, and she was put with Melanie and I don't remember if it was Joel or somebody like that. But yeah. Anyway, what are we on? We're on now. This is coming up. I don't know if it's episode 4 or episode 5 or something else, but I know this is coming up where she has to go to some sort of ceremony or whatever, all dressed in green, like she's a freaking wife. But we haven't seen that yet, so don't know exactly what's going to happen with that.
Your body will tempt you into impossible.
And we definitely have been seeing her eyeing up Garth. I don't blame her. He's an attractive guy.
Capable of. It was
And Daisy commenting on on her doing that or whatever, and then her bringing it up, and Agnes is like, you're being a slut. You can't like openly talk about that stuff. It's an offense to God. But yeah. Anyway, and we saw more stuff. It looks like some more fucked up shit is gonna happen, which is typical in Testaments. I know I was like very disheveled with that first episode because I was not expecting it to get that bad that soon. I thought the first episode they would at least start out light, and they freaking chopped some guy's arm off and had a field trip where they showed these guys hanging there and asked them about their fucking rape symbol on their hood. Like, oh god, just fun Gilead stuff.
It was time for us to change things. 'Cause you're a dream to me.
All right. But anyway, like I said, I have published episode 1 reaction. I am working on episode 2 reaction. I will publish that on Tuesday. I have watched episode 3, but I have not started editing it at all. I haven't started putting it up on my editor or anything. I am getting ready to start watching episode 4. So, yes, I'm late. I understand some of you want me to catch up, but I prefer to have a break between these episodes. They are too heavy and too emotional, and I prefer to have a little break. I prefer to be able to go watch other people's reactions and reviews and comments, see what information I can get, and I am very upset that these things that said they were trailers are not actually trailers. So I was hoping that I would be able to at least see a trailer for each episode after that 3rd episode, but it doesn't look that way. I will keep an eye out and see if it happens, but so far it doesn't look that way. I know there are some very small shorts of information, like kind of focus on the individual student characters. Shunammite, Daisy, Agnes, and Becca. I think those are the main ones. But maybe I'll show those next week before I watch episode 5 if I don't see any trailers or anything come out. But anyway, that's all I got for you right now. I will see you when I see you. Remember, I am doing readings of the Testament every Tuesday and every Sunday. I try to make a post before I do it, like at least a couple hours before I start my live streams when I do the readings. But generally it's Sundays around either noon or 2 p.m. On Tuesdays around 2 or 3 p.m. Sometimes if I get home early enough and get everything ready early enough, I might do it at like 1 or 1:30, but not usually before then. And then I also do a live stream for Deadlock, kind of like a breakdown of Deadlock and my favorite stuff in Deadlock. I do that on Sundays around 6 p.m. And I will be posting my reactions every Tuesday. I'm going to try to do it early on Tuesday. I think I can get the editing all done and get everything set up and published by early Tuesday, so I don't need to post them really late. A lot of the reactions that I do, I post late because it just takes me so long to get everything done, but I think I can get these done a little bit earlier. And that's all I got for you. I'll see you when I see you. Bye. one view, then that was just a knee.